running. This is where the power company cut the knotweed. That's how far back they cut. But it was 8 feet high. This blob down here. The spot on the right here was also extremely tall. But you'll notice in this little spot right here, there isn't much. This spot here, I actually went to town on and yanked a lot of the knotweed a couple mornings back in June or July. So there isn't much right there, and that's my work. You see where the ground cover begins again, about 15 feet out there. You can see that the knotweed is fully infested here and goes back in probably 20 feet off the pathway here. Although if you get back behind all that, get back towards the stream itself, there isn't much knotweed, and that could be milkweed. Just to make things more fun, this right here is stinging nettle, and not a lot of fun to work around while I'm pulling knotweed. This is just cut. I had nothing to do with this. I didn't even try to cut this here. You can see how fully infested this is. Goes easily, back easily 30, 40 feet, and actually starts up the slope. This is cut, and they might have cut back even farther than they did, except for they couldn't get the blade around the telephone pole. I don't think that pole does much either, but that's the last, the wire that's on that goes back in the direction we came from does not continue on beyond this, and I don't see another pole back here. Actually, is that milkweed right there? Or is it just a withering piece of knotweed? I can't tell from here. I wouldn't be surprised if there is some milkweed back here. It's a perfect spot for it. No, that's not milkweed. Might be pokeweed. I can't even tell from here. But I don't see much milkweed. This is where I was doing my work. About where the stinging nettle starts. Right here. You see there was a little bit of knotweed that was cut. But from here and in that direction, there's very little knotweed sticking out of the ground. What there is these little pieces right here that grew up out of the existing rhizome, which I could probably just, doesn't want to cut nicely. It doesn't want to pull nicely. But this pile here this is my work. This is what I put here. That had been knotweed back in like May or June, and I went to town pulling that out by the roots. You can see that, for example, I was getting right down into bare dirt and rocking it back and forth and pulling it out. Darn if there isn't a piece trying to grow back out of there. But yeah, so that spot you see right there is 2016 work up to maybe this forked tree here. Maybe I missed a couple. I don't remember exactly where I stopped. Here's some I clearly didn't pull, so maybe I stopped here. But going back 20 feet back into there's not a whole lot of knotweed. Yeah, there's some right there, but there isn't a whole lot right there. And I also tried to pull it back in this area back in here. This little path back in towards the stream back there, there's not much knotweed, and that's because I yanked it all back in like May or June. On the other side is 2015, 2014 work. I don't know if you can see any of it left. There's a piece of wood kind of marking where I stopped. This, while it's been cut, you'll notice that there isn't a lot of knotweed coming out of the ground here. Like behind me here, I had pulled a lot of this out with my bare hands. Last year and the year before, and then made another pass this year. So slowly whacking the rhizome back. And by this log back here, it's also pretty thin beyond these half dozen or so stalks, because I had whacked that back. In fact, I think if you look real hard, if I get back in here, that pile there is, I think, the 2014 pile that I pulled out, pile from what I pulled out back then. That isn't just fallen over, that's remnant, rotted up 2 years worth. But to actually do this, isn't a whole lot involved. Let's see if I can get a hold of some. I see that there's two. That's probably one root right there. If I can pull it, nah, it's not going to come nicely. It looks like it could come, but it's going to snap off. I'm going to try working on it now. But yeah, just a shovel would help, but I've done all this work with my bare hands trying to cut this back. And it came all the way out to, you can stand right here and look down the path towards that white post, and where you see grass directly in front of me, that's where I pulled knotweed, and it's been pretty much pulled out. And then I obviously stopped at the white post, and that's where they cut just a few weeks ago. But all this spot right in front of me here, and this over here, and back in there, little bits and pieces back in there, that's me yanking knotweed, all by hand and all in my own time. And that should give you an idea of what one person can do if they put their mind to it. Before this was cut, you couldn't bike through here without getting whacked by knotweed from both sides until a couple of weeks ago when they cut this. I wouldn't try to get into any of that. There was one little spot back in here where I did try to work on it separately. Oh, I think we're past it. It's so small. Yeah, there was one additional spot I was going to try to point out, but it's quite small. That should give you an idea of the extent of what I think could be milkweed. If not right along the trail, then back being closer to the stream, wherever the milkweed might be more adapted. I'm not a biologist, so I don't know all the proper terminology here. Yeah, I think about a 100-yard stretch right there of knotweed going back in 40 feet each side, 30, 40 feet. And I've been able to take out probably 100 square yards of infestation. There's more back here. I mean, that's not the only spot. This just happened to be the worst infestation. Right here, for example, the stream bed is well infested. Directly above this is Pines Plaza, so I don't think anybody's going to notice or care if anyone comes down here and works on the stream. There are some houses on the left side, have been, but no one's ever said boo to me while I've been working back here. I've probably put easily 50 hours of work in over the years, trying to pull it all out. 50 is probably being conservative. Well, that's a summary of one man's war against the knotweed in one spot that nobody else is going to care about, but it might be a good place to put milkweed.